Yeah, it's a poor decision, right? Poor life choice.
Well, it's just a big parenting fail, dude, man. Like, I see you posting pictures of you singing songs to or videos of singing songs to your kid in the bathroom, and you do some kick-ass dad stuff, and you still haven't taken your son to his friggin' namesake restaurant. Clearly, he was named after Jack in the Box, obviously. So take him there. Yeah. Show him where his lineage comes from, man.
Yeah, he was very nearly called Taco Bacon. Boys and girls of the world, welcome to episode 70 of Bad Voltage. Unfortunately, we are missing a member of the crew today, and it's not Bryan, bizarrely.
That's weird.
Stuart, Mr. Stuart Ian Langridge, is in New York with his daughter. They're having a great time, and they can't join us for the recording, so you're going to be stuck with Jeremy, Bryan, and I for this show. Bryan?
Yes, Jono.
What are we going to talk about?
Well, it so happens, Jono, that we're going to have a follow-on segment from last week's Nextcloud discussion by talking with Frank and Jos from Nextcloud.
And as Jono and I both recently acquired a Pixel C, we are going to do a little bit of a duo review. Sort of.
We're also going to get into the tech bubble. And are we in one? Is there one there? And more importantly, what shape is it?
And then we're going to talk about the Global Learning X Prize. Remember that thing? Yeah, I recently did. So let's find out what's happening with it.
And now, Bad Voltage. So the group of us were chatting the other day, and it kind of came up. Jono raised the question of whether we all thought we were in kind of a tech bubble. And instead of discussing it then, we thought, why don't we have that discussion on the show? So let me just lay a little bit of groundwork for where we are, and then we can decide, as a group, what we think. Right. So right now, if you look at the tech currently, we have 169 so-called unicorns, and now we have to also put up with the term decacorn, which if I hear that one more time, I could possibly lose my mind. It's worth $10 billion.
What is a decacorn?
You've not heard
decacorn?
Yeah,
you got to explain that one.
It's a startup worth $10 billion. So just to give a couple valuations here, Uber currently valued at about $65 billion, more than Texas Instruments, Broadcom, EMC, or Salesforce, and in fact higher than over 80% of companies in the S&P. You got Airbnb at $25 billion, worth more than companies such as VMware, NVIDIA, EA, HP. You have Snapchat at $16 billion, worth more than Red Hat. Pinterest at $11 billion, Dropbox at $10 billion, Slack at $4 billion, which represents just shy of 100 times sales. And then if you go into the public, you got Facebook's current valuation is $315 billion, same as Johnson & Johnson, and a full $50 billion more than GE. And if you look at it...
What?
Yeah, it's awesome, right? And a full 75% of the largest private tech company financings in history happened in less than the last 5 years. So with that as the current ground of where we currently stand...
we're in a bubble. Stop recording.
No, because many people think we are, many people think we're not. So I'm kind of curious where we...
So here's... What would the argument be for we're not in a bubble? I mean, can anyone point to any of those numbers and say, well, we're in a slow, consistent growth pattern? Like, who can possibly say that? Like, what could the argument possibly be that we're not in a bubble?
So people definitely are, some people making the argument that we're not really in a bubble. It's just that these companies are difficult to evaluate because they're going to change the world so much that Snapchat is going to make more revenue than Red Hat long term, which seems like a difficult argument to
Airbnb,
make.
A website that helps you stay on someone's couch, is going to revolutionize the world. Like, I don't mean anything against Airbnb. I've used it before, but I don't see how Snapchat, Airbnb, or any of these bastard companies are really going to revolutionize the world. They are all totally fine. I use a lot of them. I use Uber and Airbnb, but they are not worth 1 billion, let alone many, many billions. That is friggin' crazy. That is
I think
just
a lot of it too,
insanity.
I think a lot of it too is how you define bubble, right? My personal kind of mental bubble is if the last money in is highly unlikely, bordering on almost impossibly going to realize a return that justifies the risk that they've just taken. To me, that's a bubble, and I think they're there. I think you look at the valuations, people getting into late stage funding now. I cannot conceivably imagine that the risk they're taking is going to get them a return.
One of the points, so, we talked a couple of shows back about, I'd read this book by Dan Lyons called Disrupted, where he spent some time at HubSpot and it didn't go very well. And he's a comedy writer for Silicon Valley and used to write for Newsweek.
Yeah.
And in the middle of that book, and as I said, great book. If you want to go and read something that talks about Silicon Valley, definitely go and read that. But he talks about how, how companies, like whether there's a bubble or not, and he obviously thinks there is a bubble. And he says, just from his perspective, which he thinks is like a grey-haired perspective, which I would consider to be reason, that companies' profit is no longer the driving force. It's about high growth. Like, and if you look at these companies, what happens is VCs pump tons of money into them, and they grow really, really fast, and that's seen as the definition of success in many ways. And to me, that's just, I'm not an expert by any stretch in this. And that just to me seems like an unbelievably unhealthy model. Like, it's going to backfire at some point.
Well, because don't forget, VCs don't necessarily want the company to succeed, right? They either want the company to fail or succeed phenomenally. And if 2 out of 10 succeed phenomenally, they pay for the losers and the VCs make money. Right. That's the one thing that I think Frank kind of pointed out. They don't care about slow, sustainable growth because that's not going to get them a return on their investment that they need to return to their portfolios, right? So it is it's definitely a home run driven model. And I think right now we're seeing kind of a weird period. This is obviously going to be nothing like the .com bubble, right? It's clearly a lot different. Right. Very few companies are IPOing. So it's going to be a different feel. And I think there's different reasons for why they're not IPOing, right? Part of it is obviously that since 2000, the IPO rules have changed drastically, and it's much more onerous to IPO. No, it's a lot more work. There's a lot more cost associated. But I think a lot of them aren't IPOing because then the public gets to decide what they're worth. And as you've seen with some of the tech IPOs recently, they've markedly said, not worth what you thought you were. So I think some are delaying because they don't want that public scrutiny. And you notice, I think, part of where we are in a bubble now, and it's always difficult to tell where you are in a bubble. So is it going to burst? How is it going to burst? How much is it going to burst? When? Those are all things that are very difficult to kind of ascertain, right? But I think it's interesting that many, many tech companies are choosing non-GAAP numbers when there's numbers that everyone agrees are sound, when the whole industry is like, those are sound, but we want to use different numbers. That should be one red flag of many that I think you're seeing now.
Well, it strikes me as well that a chunk of these companies are their platform to a degree. So, for example, Facebook is a platform in which Facebook is not necessarily making as much money as they should be, but they're a platform in which other people can make money, right? And I get that. I get that, if you build something that's massively ubiquitous and other people can hang services off of that, you will, by definition, you're creating an ecosystem that other people can thrive in. What I don't understand is that some of these companies seem to be less like that. Right? They're not all necessarily big ecosystem plays. Like, I get Twitter and I get Facebook, even if it doesn't drive to revenue. But for some of these other companies, I just don't understand. Like, I don't get WhatsApp, right? I mean, I just don't get why that valuation was so ridiculously high. Because even though it's a very valuable tool, it's not really an it's just something that a lot of people use. It's not something that other services necessarily hang off on.
I got to be honest. I don't get WhatsApp. Period. I don't even understand what the hell it is. I don't know if I'm just fundamentally incredibly old and my testicles now hang down to my knees, but I just don't understand what the hell WhatsApp is, let alone why I would. It's kind of like Snapchat. Like, why would I use Snapchat? I don't understand why I'd use Snapchat. I don't know. I don't know what the kind of demographic is for Snapchat other than Jono. Jono's on Snapchat probably, but other than that, I don't understand it.
On Snapchat.
What was it for? Like, why would you need it? Why would there be a revenue model associated with it if I don't even understand what the hell it is?
WhatsApp to me seems like a messaging app, and if we've learned anything from messaging apps over the last 20 years, it's that they are not sticky. Once the next popular messaging app comes, everyone uses that next one over and over and over again, from ICQ to AIM to over the years. They have changed so many times to get that rich of a valuation for a messaging app. Just seems nonsensical to me.
That's the thing.
Insanity.
Like, Yeah, and it just seems to be like some of these valuations are just based upon hype and hysteria, and that to me has got to be a sign of a bubble, right, of the impending bursting of the buble.
So what's the? Can any of us come up with a reason for saying this isn't a bubble? I can't come. I can't think of it. What would it possibly be?
I mean, it's a good question. I don't know. It's like...
Because I'm not an expert. I'm not a financial expert. I am not terribly good at remembering to pay my water bill on time. Sometimes I'll look down at it. I'm like, I was supposed to pay that yesterday. This is how good I am at this stuff. I'm just not good at it.
I think some people will say that a long span of zero and sometimes negative interest rates correlated with a strong macroeconomic time period, so that what you're seeing is really not a tech bubble. It's
you just
zero
made all
interest.
Those words up.
No, but see, if interest rates are zero, people are going to chase returns somewhere, and they're going to take risky bets because money's cheap, right? Money's almost free when interest rates are zero, and certainly when they're negative, it doesn't make sense not to raise money when you can. So I think as the Fed raises interest rates, which they're clearly going to do, some of these bets are going to look asinine. It's the money's going to go elsewhere because it should, which is on a separate segment, but why long terms of negative interest rates are probably idiotic long term. But I think the people that would make the argument is that the dot-com bubble was a crazy bubble where companies had no business models at all, where I think these companies, Uber has a business model. It's just not one that I think is worth $65 billion. But I think Uber, the company, I think most of these companies make sense, where in some previous bubbles, things just didn't even really make sense. Companies that had no product were IPOing, basically. So you're not seeing that kind of bubble.
Though, I mean, you know what? I'll give you that, because that... I can see how someone would take that approach. I disagree with it because WhatsApp, but... honestly, at least we can come up with a reason why someone might, in some weird, fundamental, bizarro universe where everyone has little goatees on, we are not in a bubble. But it seems like a bit of a stretch. And I guess realistically, does it even matter? Does it even matter if we're technically in or not in a bubble? If things like WhatsApp exists in the world and are valued at $8.5 bajillion, like things are just wrong with the universe, regardless of whether we're in a bubble or not. That's just how I look at it.
I think we're in a different shaped, different sized bubble than previously. Maybe is a better way to put it.
What is the shape?
Who knows?
It's like a little bit of an octahedron.
Interesting is we seem to now for a while be going. We seem to be now going on 8-year bust cycles, which is an odd time period to me, right? Because you had kind of that recession in '92, 2000 was the dot-com burst. 2008 was kind of the financial crisis and the home crisis.
Good point.
So 2016, I think, makes a lot of people nervous for that reason alone. Now, obviously, just because it happened 3 times in a row, it's not going to happen infinitely. So that's not a good reason. But I think there is some of that in the atmosphere that we're about due.
The thing that worries me about this, apart from the fact that a lot of people are going to lose their shorts at some point over this, is it worries me that the message that I'm going to sound like an old fart now.
Yeah,
the message and the example that this sets to young people who are getting interested in technology and all the rest of it is that, like, when I was growing up, I was raised, and I'm sure you guys were as well. I was raised with the principle that, like, you build a company. Like, if you're going to set up a company, you build up a company with a goal of being profitable, right? That you keep your costs down low to maximize your profits. And now it seems to be, if you have a good idea that you can convince the world on, and it becomes, first of all, there's bags and bags and bags of money out there that you can take, of other people's money that you can take, and it's okay because, only 1 in 10 of these things is probably going to succeed. So there's loads of free money out there that you can use, and all you need to do is to build something that's ubiquitously used, doesn't necessarily have a business model attached to it, but is ubiquitously used. It basically says that you can be successful and make a load of money if you can build brand recognition and hype around something, and that's a way of being successful in your world. And what worries me is the example that sets to people, because it detracts from, I would say, the right way of doing things, which is to build a product or a service that people actually want, that you can make money from, that you can deliver a lot of value to your users, and
So the reason that doesn't worry me is that 99.9% of small businesses are built with sustainability in mind, and only the Valley thinks like that. So it's not. I don't think it's going to become a pervasive mentality across the world. I think a small percentage of people want to hit that home run, and that's fine. And but
I
the
don't
majority
think
of people want to build
down the street's going to go
sustainable
crazy.
businesses and do the right thing. Yeah. So I don't think that's...
Yeah, it's a good point.
I don't think it's indicative of our overall
thing.
trend. It is... Well, I think it's a segment thing. I don't think it's just tech. But I think that there's a few segments where that clearly is... Because if you look like biomed is another one where people want to hit home runs and take a ton of VC. And so it's not just tech, but...
It's a segmentation within tech as well, and I wouldn't even call it Silicon Valley. It's just the type of companies. Like to me, Silicon Valley is no longer a region. Like, I mean, Dan Lyons talks about this in his book. Like, HubSpot is based in Boston and has got that whole vibe about it.
Stupid Boston.
And it's like it just seems to be it's a culture within technology, right?
It is.
So
I don't even know if it's a culture within the technology, because it's not the technology people that want this. It's the weird managers that come on board that aren't all that techie that manage them up, and the CFOs they bring on board. But I don't know any engineers sitting around who honestly believe that this is a sustainable model and really want to go for this going forward. They just want to build something kick-ass and make a good living at it. You know, hey, if we IPO and can make $1 million, rad. But they're not like, well, we need to be valued at $27 billion. But the more important thing is, we've made a lot of good points. We are three extraordinarily intelligent individuals.
Yes.
And we keep making these excellent points, but we keep getting sidetracked from the real question.
Cool, I can't wait for the real question.
What the hell shape is this?
Oh, man.
I need to know, what is the shape? It's not a bubble. We've clearly defined that we're not in a bubble, but perhaps it's some other form of shape that we are currently in. So I would like to pose this to the community. Go to community.badvoltage.org and let us know, what sort of technology shape are we currently in? I would pose that it's some sort of Newtonian fluid, but go ahead, add your thoughts in at the community and let us know, because we need you to tell us what to say on a future episode.
What if it's amorphous, though? Which is probably what it is.
Oh, shit. That's a good point.
Also, feel free to post images and animated GIFs to illustrate what shape you think it is.
Guys, if you could find pictures of the shape, and if you could find some way to GIMP, Photoshop, whatever, our faces onto those shapes, extra brownie points.
The Pixel C is the first Android device in the Pixel lineup. The 10.2-inch tablet has an NVIDIA Tegra X1 processor, 3 gigs of RAM, and either 32 or 64 gigs of storage. It contains the sensors, cameras, and other items you'd expect in a high-end tablet, and is USB-C based. The device is very well constructed, and with the optional keyboard, weighs almost as much as Jono's MacBook Air. As the device has been out for over 6 months, I'm not going to get into the specs or basic usability as much as I normally would. There are plenty of existing reviews out there if you want that information, although if you're interested in me doing a more in-depth review at another time, I'm happy to do so. What I will say is that the device has a really premium build quality and performs extremely well, and that shouldn't come as much of a surprise as it starts at $649 once you factor in the keyboard. On that topic, the keyboard feels better than I anticipated, and while its magnetic system is a little tricky to figure out at first, it's not nearly as bad as Bryan would have you believe. One thing many existing reviews mention is that while the hardware is fantastic, the hybrid nature of the device is really held back by Android. This review is to let you know that soon this will no longer be the case. Why? I've been running Android N Developer Preview on the device for a while, and the addition of multi-window support has the potential to flat out change how useful the Pixel C is. The current split screen mode is a good start and has changed how I use the device. That said, I think freeform mode will be the real game changer here, although it does look like Google may choose to make that feature a manufacturer option, at least initially. If you have a device capable of running the Android N beta, I recommend checking it out. So far it's been stable enough for me to use daily. The one minor change I'd make to the device itself is the addition of a small trackpad, but that aside, if you're looking for a high-end hybrid tablet with Android N, the Pixel C is worth a look, especially if you can find one at a discount price as it ages.
Now, there's a little bit of backstory on that review, right? Because Jeremy and I both received Pixel Cs at the same time, and we decided to tag team doing this review. And Jeremy, being the ever efficient individual that he is, wrote his first. And I listened to it, and I was like, he basically said everything that I was going to write, so I basically didn't write mine. But Jeremy also left some bits out because he thought I was going to write mine. So, but great review, great half review.
Yeah, boom.
Great half review, Jeremy.
yeah, really, really good high level. So at this point, all the three people on the show, because Stuart is he in New York? Where is he at? I don't even know where he's at.
In New York.
He's in New York. How fancy is that? But we all have Pixel Cs. I've had one for half a year now or so. When did you guys get yours?
Last month.
Last month. All right, cool.
Yeah.
So
Bryan, do you have the keyboard with yours as well? Or do you
of course I have the
tablet?
keyboard, yeah.
Right, okay.
That's his main
so you got
complaint.
the whole package.
It's not okay. So the keyboard here. I'm gonna hold this up here. So in Jeremy's friggin' review, which was totally right except for the keyboard thing, he suggested that perhaps my complaint about it is a little overstated. So what I'm going to do here, through the magic of audio, is show you guys using your ears just how strong and fierce and demanding.
I was going to say, by show them,
is.
you know that the only two people that can actually see this is Jono and I, who have.
Oh, here we go.
You want them to hear this.
Here we go. All right. It is two pieces of metal with incredibly sharp edges slamming together at 4Gs. Now, I
Wait,
love
did you get a
this
prototype
device.
one? Mine does not have any sharp edges at all.
Are you kidding
Where's
me?
there a sharp edge on this
Crazy
thing?
sharp
when's
edges.
there a sharp edge?
First of all, pull knife
Which part
slab
of this is
1 off
sharp?
of knife slab 2 around the screen. Feel that entire area around the screen. It's a sharp edge. Have you not pinched the holy bejesus out of your hand a billion times already?
Not a single time.
Not once.
Are you joking me? So I do this constantly, and I was talking with who was it? Was it Swapnil or one of the other tech journalists that had one back in like January timeframe. He was having the same problem. Both of us agreed this is an amazing device. Its build quality is spectacular, but I wish it was trying to rip the flesh off of my fingers when I closed the keyboard and the screen together. Anyway, that really is my only complaint about the device. I love it. It is amazing. Jono, so how much have you been actually using it?
I've been using mine quite a bit because my previous tablet that I was using most of the time was my iPad.
Well, and this is so much better than your stupid MacBooks anyway, so this is a decent upgrade.
I the whole like tablet with a keyboard thing, I wasn't quite bought into. But one of the things I've learned about myself is that my initial assumptions about things are almost always wrong. So, like, I thought the notion of a tablet was stupid when Apple first announced the iPad, and it got popular. Tablets became popularized. Yeah. I was wrong about that. Having like like Jeremy, I thought was 100% right about Android. Like, I haven't put N on mine yet, but it's quite clear that the OS running on the Pixel C is designed for cell phones. Like the notifications, they're really narrow. It looks stupid, and like there's like smaller things like that. But overall, I absolutely love it. I think it's a great device. I had terrible networking issues when I first got mine, but I think that was mainly down to my actual network. I don't think it was the Pixel C.
Yeah.
But I did see some reports online that because the thing's built out of a solid chunk of metal, basically, that people were experiencing some networking issues.
Yeah, it's funny. When I first got mine, it was fairly early round, and the keyboard, and it was a software issue, but then the keyboard would connect, because it has that little magnetic clamp that it slaps onto it. It would connect over Bluetooth. It figured all that out, and then you'd start typing, and it would basically just give up and repeat whatever the last letter you pressed was until the end of time. So it would just be nothing but J's in every document you wrote, and that happened probably 1 out of every 3 times you flipped the thing over and connected it, and it was like that for like 2 or 3 months until they had a software update, which kind of made me want to murder the device at first, but once they fixed it, it became wonderful. But it's fantastic. No? Yeah. So I've used every update to end they put on here, and until the last update, it was a little problematic because I do a lot on my Android tablets. I mean, a lot.
The last release has been really usable for me.
Yes, it got crazy usable. Before that, the first release showed a lot of promise and was great, but a lot of apps weren't ready for it. They couldn't handle the split screen views very well. They crashed a lot. They got all funky, and then the device would become unstable. But the last release, man, I agree. It's an opt-in program. If you do have a Pixel C or a Nexus 9, I have both here in front of me, and both are running N currently, and both perform wonderfully well. They're fast. Yep. Jeremy's right. The split screen alone makes it more usable, because now I can have a web page up on one side and my text editor up on the other side, and actually be
That's been one
working.
Of my
and that really is my primary thing. Yeah. So it is pretty fantastic. And Jeremy's right. Movable, resizable windows would kind of take this from the realm of phone, tablet-y device to screw it. This is my computer now. Sort of levels of awesome.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Like, it's pretty incredible what they've done with it, because like the hardware is just stunning.
So good.
I mean, it's beautiful hardware. I like how it feels like a really premium device. You know, like it's really well made.
Does, yeah.
But the software is the thing that's lagging for me a little bit, because it does still feel like very much of a mobile operating system, and I haven't put N on mine yet, but when I do, it sounds like it's edging much more towards this will be very much usable as a general purpose computer, for which we've been mocking Bryan relentlessly for many years now.
Yeah.
But then it will be like it, because I mean, you know,
although on
particularly,
oh god,
I was just going to say, like, particularly like go like for traveling, you know, like carrying this little thing and being able to work on an airplane in economy and stuff like that, and I love it. Big fan.
Yeah. I was going to say, there is a point at which you're so far ahead of the curve that it's indistinguishable from just being wrong.
Yeah.
So the nice part, he wasn't just ahead of the curve. He was
here's how I approach life in general. I pick something that 99% of the population will think is batshit crazy and stupid, and I stick to it with such religious vigor that eventually I'm right and everyone hails me as a prophet. That's the general overall goal here. Yeah. So yeah.
Apart from living in a terminal for however long you were planning on doing
that. Yeah. That's
that
oh my god.
Painful.
So just as an aside, I even did that on my Pixel C. So there's a Termux, which is a fantastic little Android app in the Play Store. It doesn't require rooting, but it gives you a Debian-based, really boiled down install. It has like just enough utilities on it to have a full screen Linux Debian terminal with only apt on it. So basically you just build your own system out of it, and the repository it comes with is very limited, but oh man, the ability to pull up a full screen on your Android tablet, a terminal session, load up Tmux, and get all sorts of split screen goodness going on with all your little apps running and running HTOP and everything else on your Android tablet, where it actually sees into the processes running on the Android side of things, and you can kill the Android processes because it has full access to them. It's just so cool. But that's where the coolness ended in that whole experiment, and you'll note that I ended that experiment 10 days into my 30-day run, so I do not recommend only terminal.
Man, you went 10 days longer than I could have gone.
You know, you guys, the movie Tropic Thunder with
yes.
Yeah. Well, you know the whole thing in that movie where you never go full retard. It's kind of like that. You never go full terminal. You never do that. You know, it's cool to be kind of terminally. It's cool to be like half terminal, but if you go full terminal, then, you're not going to win the Oscar. That's for damn sure.
Bryan Lunduke's views do not represent the views of Bad Voltage. So, one of the questions I was going to have was, can you use like a Bluetooth? You can't use a mouse with this, right? There's no mouse.
No, you totally can. Yeah.
You can?
Yeah, I've used a mouse with it tons and tons and tons of times.
And you actually get like a little mouse cursor that you can
click on a little mouse cursor pops up and you have full control of it. Actually, so
that's cool.
I have a version of DOSBox running on here with Windows 3.11, Windows for Workgroups, no joke, that I can connect a mouse to it and use Photoshop, I think 4 running under Windows 3.1 in a DOSBox window, and under N I can have it in split screen mode with my Android Chrome web browser right next to it. It's an oddly satisfying yet bizarre and wonderful experience.
Well, I was going to say the addition of that small trackpad and freeform mode would make this one of the best devices I've used in years.
Yeah,
honestly.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, you nailed it,
It's
man.
interesting. I've been working with a client recently, and one of their employees has got a Chromebook. I've never really sat next to anyone using a Chromebook before. And it obviously looks very, like the hardware looks very similar to the Pixel C. And I just love that kind of like sleek industrial kind of vibe to it. Because I kept I was just sat there just lusting over this woman's Chromebook because it's just a beautiful piece of hardware. I just wish you could go out and buy like more general purpose hardware that was as good quality as Macs and these Google devices, because they're just really nice, you know.
They are incredible. They are incredibly nice.
So yeah, go and get one.
So I'm curious.
Go and get one, people.
So what are you guys using on yours? Like, what are you doing with it? That's what I want to know. So you guys know me. You guys have seen me. I literally, other than video editing, can do everything on these devices and do with regularity. What do you guys do with them?
Well, on my side, it's mainly typical tablet-y type stuff.
Just Instagram, nothing but Instagram and Pinterest.
But it's Snapchat. No,
you do seem
email.
like a Snapchatty man, dude. You've got like some sort of invite-only Snapchat account. You know what I'm saying? Wink, wink.
No, for me, it's email, Reddit. But what I'm increasingly using it for is with my work. It's a really handy device to carry around and carrying into meetings, so if I don't have my laptop with me. So, so in that case, Evernote and a few other bits and pieces. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, since then, I've been using the text editor a lot more, and with split screen mode and email and that kind of stuff.
What editor are you using currently?
That's a good question, because I tried a couple and I don't know that I've settled on one yet. But since you use it more,
Droid Edit Pro, my friend. Droid Edit Pro. It's I don't know, what is it, like $2 or something like that. It is the closest that you're going to get to a highly editable, flexible, color coding, wonderful text editor, like a really souped up Gedit. On your Android device. It's fantastic. Plus, it does have a little tie-in to services like OwnCloud or Dropbox. So you can just kind of sync your files straight back and forth. It's just fantastic. Highly recommended.
The one thing that is missing a little bit in my mind is the Google Docs on the Google Docs client, or whatever they've got on there, could be better, I think.
Yeah.
I think, because I don't know if you guys have got this, but like the toolbars aren't visible, and like it's more difficult. It's better in browser than it is in the client. And I think if they improve that a little bit,
there's less features.
Google Docs is.
Yeah. Google Drive is all like that. Like, there's a bunch of Google Drive things, like Shapes, the kind of the vector design tool that Google Drive has. You can't use it. It doesn't exist for Android, and you can't use the web-based version really on Android either. It just isn't usable. And so it kind of stinks if you've got like a large collection of documents over on Google Drive that you've been kind of investing into. Moving over to mobile, it honestly, in a lot of ways, it doesn't work all that great. You unless you're just doing simple text documents.
Right. The basics work fine, but once you go beyond the basics, it gets...
Have you guys tested 3D performance on it yet? Like, have you run any games on it? Because I haven't run any games whatsoever in it. I don't know how beefy the graphics card is.
Are you kidding me? Of course I have. I'm human, man. So I have, so I've got this one here. So for gaming stuff, so I use this and my NVIDIA Shield tablet and the NVIDIA Shield TV as my kind of 3 gaming devices. Performance on this is spectacular. The only problem is that it wasn't built as a gaming device. So it's really similar guts in the Pixel C versus the NVIDIA Shield tablet. So both of them do great at games, but I mean, I guess if you go out and get a Bluetooth controller, that'll help out a bit. But the controlling is the only problem. But if you throw on things like Civilization Revolutions or any of the other various games for Android, they're not going to run anywhere better than they run on the Pixel C or I guess the very latest Shield tablet. Those are the two gaming tablets that just kick ass. They're just friggin' amazing. Just ridiculous.
Wow. This is a glowing review, isn't it?
Yeah, it kind of. But seriously, it will rip the flesh off of your fingers. Have you guys done the fridge test? Have you done the fridge test? No? Come on, guys. Take the screen part off the keyboard, put the keyboard down, and slap that screen against your fridge and just walk away with confidence, man. That that magnet is so strong, it will stay on your fridge and turn your fridge into a Linux-powered smart fridge immediately, and it will never move. I left mine up for an hour. It didn't budge once. You can tap that sucker, and it won't move.
Oh my God. As soon as we are done, I'm going to run downstairs and stick that tablet on the front of my fridge. I love the idea of that. It's brilliant.
It totally works. I mean, I suppose if your fridge is all plasticky, maybe not. But, if you've got a semi-metal
fridge. Big steel fridge.
Yeah.
Just leave it there and don't say anything to Erica and see how long it takes her to wonder why there's a keyboard just stuck to your fridge.
just set it up, put YouTube up full screen, and just have it playing on repeat Jono videos. Just all the videos you can find with Jono in a playlist, so it's playing on the fridge constantly.
Here's a reminder. What I might do is I might actually get a little Bluetooth webcam and stick it inside the fridge, like those Samsung fridges where you can look inside.
That's actually kind of a badass idea.
Wouldn't that be great? Like if it's got a little night vision, because the light won't be on, obviously.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The dream is real. I'm going to Amazon as well.
Fucking real. Fucking right. On last week's delightful episode of Bad Voltage, we discussed Uncloud and Nextcloud and Post-Cloud and Propterhawk Cloud and all the other various clouds that are going on in the world, and we had some thoughts and we had some opinions, and really we needed to get people who were actually working on these things on the show to actually talk to them. So we brought on, and I'm sorry guys, I know, I like you both very much, but I can't pronounce things, so I'm about to butcher your names. Frank Karliczek? Did I get that right, Frank?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. All right, and Jos, I'm about to fundamentally destroy your name. Jos Portvliet. Portvliet?
Yeah, why don't you just skip the last name, my friend?
Well, I don't know. I feel like you deserve to have both names. Anyway, Frank is the founder is basically the man with the vision, the technical founder behind Uncloud, and he has split off to create Nextcloud, and Jos is his, let's just call him faithful manservant. And I wanted to talk to you guys about Nextcloud to kind of get it right from the horse's mouth, and honestly to give Jeremy and Jono, who in the last episode did raise a lot of questions and had a lot of things they kind of wanted to talk to you guys about. So let's kind of get into it. All right. So if everyone, let's not do backstory here. Backstory is stupid, and we just did that on the whole last episode. Let's talk about where we're at right now. So, Frank, Jos, where is Nextcloud at as of right now, as a company and as a project? Where does it sit?
Well, in a pretty crazy spot, I would say. It's really, I mean, we started like how many weeks ago? I don't know, 3.5 weeks ago now.
Seems a few years.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, there's so much going on, right? I mean, we're also crazy enough to start a new open source project and a company at the same time. And also, and not really from scratch, right? The usual open source project that you start is like, it grows and grows over time. But actually a colleague of me called it's like switching cars while they were driving. So this is how it feels at the moment. On the highway, of course, yeah, no planes or whatever. Yeah.
It's like that Chuck Norris thing where Chuck Norris is stood on a wing on two aeroplanes, right? And it's like doing a split.
Exactly like that. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, the thing is, of course, that, of course, we have our own plans. We want to build a lot of things and do a lot of things better than in the past. But also, like, the community is totally crazy. I mean, they're like jumping on board and doing stuff way faster than we thought. So
that's great.
Planned for. I mean, it's a good problem to have, but
I was going to say, Jos's eyes look very wide right now. When was the last time you had sleep, Jos?
I actually had a week of holiday last week, so that's
nice.
I've recovered a bit.
So you'd say the adoption's running ahead of where you were anticipating it at the beginning?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we planned for a release somewhere in July, and we did it, 2 weeks ago. It was like, we wanted to take like 6 weeks to get a release done. And basically everybody jumped on it and started working on it. And in less than 2 weeks, we decided to push the button and just do a first release. Because first of all, we could. Right. And second of all, everybody was asking for it and pushing for it. So, yeah.
So let me get into the main question I had, which was, I obviously, as you both know, on Bad Voltage, big fan of Untitled. Like, we've been big fans since the start of the project, I think. But why did this, just from the horse's mouth, like, why did this split happen? The thing that I was confused by was that there was from what I understand, there was some dissatisfaction with the way the community was kind of being operated in Untitled. And the thing that struck me was, like, Frank is one of the founders of the project, that some of those things were within your control as a team to kind of change and adapt. But obviously that wasn't the case, and that's consequently we've got Nextcloud. Like, what went down? Like, what were the reasons? What were the specific reasons for creating Nextcloud?
Yeah, so there are different things. And I mean, if you work in a company, like, it's not so easy to say, well, you're in control or something. There are a lot of different interests, and a lot of different ways to do things. And it's actually more than the community. It's also a lot of other things, how basically things are balanced between the company and the community. It's not pure community management. I mean, this is obviously difficult enough. But also like balance this with the interest of, I don't want to compare it with canonical Ubuntu, but I mean, I assume that, like, you also had like challenges where there's the company interest and the community interest, and you're between both, and you have to balance it somehow. I don't want to say it's exactly like that. It's of course different, but it's a lot of things where we thought, well, this could be done better. And of course, there were a lot of things that we could influence, like Jos and me and lots of the other core people. Because it's not only the two of us who did Nextcloud now. It's obviously a bigger team as most of the server core developer team who did this. But there are lots of external factors too. So the way we decided, and I don't want to blame anyone here, but the way we set up this company was that we went with an American venture capital investor, which then has certain goals, how the company should be done and what the company should control and how important the different markets are, and so on and so on, a lot of different things. And this wasn't bad at all. I mean, Untitled, we grew nicely and developed great software and a good community, but at some point we came to the decision basically that there's still a lot of things that could be done better. And
did you, so on that point specifically, did you feel, and obviously well, let me say this up front. Like, I'm conscious of the fact that there is going to be some things you can say and some things you can't say, and feel free to say your answer can be it's none of your business, Bacon. But like, so it sounds like what you're saying, Frank, is that you'd set up the company and you'd secured some outside investment, and it sounds like those outside influences were playing more of a role than you felt comfortable in terms of the community aspect of things. And it sounds like from what you're saying that your ability, or not ability because you're a very capable guy, but the potential for you to resolve those issues was subsumed by those outside influences. It sounds like you kind of like the ship took over and you were just hanging on for dear life and realized, no, this is not the place for me. Is that right?
In a way, yes, but this is less dramatic than what it sounds. It's not like, I don't know, someone wants to turn it into next Microsoft Windows, and I said no, and it wasn't like that. It was more like the smaller things that basically grew over time. So one example is the contributor agreement. I mean, and the dual licensing, which then was needed for the development of the proprietary enterprise apps in Untitled. And this was something that basically was decided very early and worked for quite some time, but it became clear that it became like a real problem for the future of the community So we got like feedback from people that, I like the project and the vision and the code and everything and the people, but I'm not comfortable with signing that. So what can we do? And it's more than individual contributors. There are also like partners and customers who are basically, we think that OwnCloud, this is more than just a normal product. This can be something like a platform. We want to build on top of that. We want to do something with it. But because of the nature of how this was set up from a legal perspective, this wasn't really possible. So
Yeah. And this is going to sound like a really fluffy question, and then I'll let the other guys ask questions as well.
Ask your fluffy question.
I mean, I can only imagine what that whole experience was like for you, particularly Frank. Like, I mean, that must have just been traumatic going through, something you've built and created, and these even if it was like a slower kind of burn, but like realizing that this is not something you can effectively change, and then making the decision to step out and to do something new. I mean, how, like, just as a human being, what was that like to go through? Because I mean, you often don't hear about like these kinds of things that happen to founders,
Yeah, so it's first of all, I have to say that, I founded the project and I wrote the very first version and everything, but OwnCloud and also Nextcloud nowadays is the work of a lot of hundreds and hundreds of people. Right? So of course, I can say, it's my baby, but it's also the baby of other people. So it's not only me. So, but I know what you mean with your question. So it's always, for me personally, was always the thing is, if you build something, I mean, I started it alone, which means it was owned by me 100% alone, right? I did everything. And then growing, you get more people involved, and it's natural that you lose influence. And that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing, because losing influence means that there are other people who want to do stuff and capable and motivated and everything. That's good. That's not bad. But of course, you're always asking the question, okay, is this the right direction or should it be different? And then, I don't know. I mean, I trust people a lot when they come in and want to do stuff. But when you start to see like negative effects, then maybe this actually was a bad decision. Maybe we should do something a little bit different.
Right. Yeah. Well, in hindsight, right? Like,
in hindsight, it's always easy to say.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
it kind of seemed to me, reading the subtext, is that the VCs kind of invested in what they considered an enterprise file sync and share platform, and you wanted it to be a lot more than that, right? You wanted it to be a platform that you could build a whole bunch of different things into it. It looks like SpreadMe is going to be one of the first ones, but I'm going under the assumption that there's going to be many more from there, and it'll kind of turn into a big platform. And I noticed, right when you initially made the announcement, I noticed you said there was no promise there was going to be zero proprietary apps. And then kind of that changed into all enterprise functionality will be open source is kind of the new, what you're saying now, which means you're going to kind of have to do the consulting and services model. Do you think you're going to be able to scale that sustainably as a company in the medium and long term? Because I'm assuming you have a short-term runway of funding now.
Yeah, so that's an excellent point. First of all, I want to say that this is a great example which shows that in Nextcloud, I am not the boss. So I'm not the founder and I have some ideas. But this is a group effort. This is like in the company, this is a group thing, and also from a community perspective. So one thing we want to do is we want to give up a lot of people way more control. And basically this adjustment in strategy was the effect of a 1 week strategy meeting that we had. And then, after this meeting, 1 week meeting, the strategy was a bit different. So only open source, no more proprietary apps. So that's the thing.
Can I just high five you guys over the internet right now for that? By the way, that made me smile. I just wanted to add that in.
Yeah,
thank you.
I was also quite happy that we had the confidence basically to go for this. I mean, this of course goes back to the business question that Jeremy just asked, right? Like, I mean, you need some confidence that you can make this model work. And, we have that, but I'll let Frank elaborate on that.
No, I mean, it's an excellent question. It's an excellent question. If you want to change your business model, and this is what we do here, The question is, of course, well, it's easy to kill the old business model, but then the question is, how does the new business model work, right? You don't have any proof points. Well, I mean, we collected a few proof points over time, and now, after a few weeks, we are totally flooded by opportunities. Like, people really want to buy support from us, and also partly consulting, but mainly classical support, and this is basically the Red Hat business model. Right, like the code is open source. Same with Nextcloud here. But well, if you want to run it in a critical environment, well, maybe you want to have a contract with the people who wrote the code so they can help you to run it. So we got so much. Actually, we are totally flooded with requests at the moment. And by the way, if one of the listeners send an email and still waiting for an answer, sorry, it's coming, but have to process that. And also there's a lot of other opportunities. There's like the Spreet box. This is a project that came from the Spreet Me thing that basically is now part of Nextcloud. So this is like a box that can be that like small enterprises in Asia or in Europe or in the US can put into their company, and then they have like pre-configured teleconferencing, video conferencing, file sharing thing. And this is something that we also sell together with a partner, and we are getting so many requests for those boxes, so that we actually, at the moment, we can say that our problem is not the money. At the moment, our problem is scale.
Yeah, we need to scale. The thing is, think about this box, right? You're a small company. You have 10, 15 employees, or maybe a few more. You're selling, I don't know, fruit and vegetables, right? And, this box, costs about $1,000 and with a support contract, and gives you the ability to, work together on files, to have video conferencing calls, all nicely branded so that it, looks professional to your customers, to the people you have a call with. You can give them product demonstrations. You can just have your weekly meetings in this thing, etc., right? You buy this box, your company grows to, let's say, a few hundred people. At that point, you need to scale up. What do? Well, you call the guys who made the box, and they say, well, the next level is Nextcloud. Right, Nextcloud runs on the box. But if you want something more serious, run it on your own server. Now, these boxes sell by the thousands. So you can imagine that we have a upsell opportunity there in the longer run. So we have no worries about that whatsoever. Our biggest issue is indeed scaling up, because we need to deliver these boxes. And of course, already Nextcloud, which is already, being.
It sounds as well like part of what you're doing. I don't want to put words in your mouth, so tell me if this is incorrect, but it sounds like part of what you're doing as well is you're building a platform where people other than the Nextcloud team will be making money from it, right? So like with most companies, they build a product, and with the exception of channel sales and partner reselling, like generally that company makes the lion's share of the money. But it sounds like what you're trying to do is to build something that's completely open source that benefits a ton of people, so multiple people can be consultants, so multiple people can take value in it. And it's hard to compete with something like that because lots of people are invested in it, right?
Exactly. So, and part of this is also, if you think about a product like this, if you have Nextcloud and you need, for example, Collabora Online, this is already, they already sell this, right, as a kind of an add-on. And there will be others, and we invite others who are interested in providing something on the OwnCloud platform.
Right. Yeah. You guys going to get VC funding?
No. First of all, we don't need it. And also, VC funding is optimized for super fast grow and then getting out in 3 years and make lots of money. I don't have a problem with making lots of money, but I definitely also want to have a job that I can do in 10 years and 20 years. So what you're willing is
for the
more sustainable, more long term, yes.
Right.
Actually, kind of touching on, Jono asked a question kind of about the human aspect of this, and I know obviously a lot of people at OwnCloud were friends and colleagues and people that you knew. Were you a little bit surprised at just how quick OwnCloud US shuttered after the announcement? Did that come as a little bit of a surprise to you guys, or is that something you kind of anticipated?
No, it was a surprise. So obviously there were some problems, and I don't want to go into a lot of details here, but it was clear that there were some problems, but basically problems that they had to shut down 12 hours after our announcement. This was a surprise, yes. And no one here at Nextcloud is happy about that.
Sure.
That's not cool, because there are some of our colleagues that we worked with for years were affected, and that's not cool at all. But yeah, well, maybe we can build a future here. So.
Sure. Yeah. I know we're running a little long. I got one more question, then I'll see if the other two guys have any questions, and then we'll probably wrap this up. But I know one thing that, obviously the fork had much different reasons than OwnCloud Nextcloud, but if you look at kind of LibreOffice and OpenOffice, right, I think every technical person I knew within days used LibreOffice, and then all the distributions switched to LibreOffice almost immediately. The thing that is surprising to me, and I think a lot of technical people kind of forget, that in the mainstream, to this day, OpenOffice has more name recognition for whatever reason, especially among non-technical users. What are you guys kind of doing to change the mainstream mindshare from kind of the OwnCloud brand to the Nextcloud brand? Because it's a pretty difficult challenge.
I mean, other than coming on Bad Voltage, because really there's no better way to get the word out about your branding and your product.
You will get the Bad Voltage bump after this, of course, but yeah.
The thing is, the audience of both products is different. I mean, we have the ambition, as OwnCloud had, or at least Frank always had, let me put it that way, and the others, the core people, the people who joined because of the vision. Our goal has always been to provide an alternative to Google, to Apple, to Microsoft, to their online services, a solution that respects your privacy. Well, you know the whole thing. And this is one of the things that, well, one of the reasons also why we did the fork, right? This didn't get the attention. This wasn't the focus. But aside from that, so as a product, it's more technical. Sadly, it is much harder to run a server than it is to install, LibreOffice on your desktop. And this is something we really want to change. We always wanted to change. And again, now we can put more of a focus on that, simply because this is something we want to do. And again, this was not that interesting in the past. So we want to bring Nextcloud to more devices, make it easier for people to run, provide devices like the Spreadbox, but also what we work on with Western Digital, and to create basically an add-on for the Raspberry Pi that you buy, hard drive plus a case plus an SD card, and pre-installed with Nextcloud. We're working with them on this. You buy this add-on, you put your own Pi in it, and then you have your own cloud, your own Nextcloud at home. So this is important for us, but you have to realize that even though there are indeed millions of users already on OwnCloud, that is absolutely nothing compared to the huge reach that LibreOffice has. And even though we would like to have the reach LibreOffice has, and even more than that, because after all, the ones we're aiming for and going after are not the OwnCloud users or any of the other open source solutions, but Dropbox, Google Drive, etc. We were still pretty far off. So I think so a lot of the users are more technical. They're following more closely what is happening. The product wasn't as mature yet, I suppose, as OpenOffice was. So I think in a lot of ways it'll be less painful. And I say less painful because obviously it is going to be painful, because it's simply a difficult, big thing to get a recognizable name and replace it with something else. But I think we're in a good position. On the community side, and as you said, the technical side, you see people moving over right away. And you see indeed that the press also gets what's happening. And, we've had a lot of airtime, which is good. And in the longer run, look, at the OwnCloud conference 2 years ago, Frank showed this slide of OwnCloud users, right? And you had this bar, and you had this bar. And then he shrank them and showed the number of users of Dropbox and Google Drive. Yeah, that's our target. Right. And honestly, in that regard, OwnCloud is also irrelevant.
Sure.
That's simply not the market we're trying to capture. I'm perfectly happy with people on OwnCloud because it's way better than them using Dropbox and Google Drive and all the other solutions out there. So
Yeah, that's a really good point. If I were to sit down today and write an article, I would not write an article that says, here's my 2 weeks of using Nextcloud instead of OwnCloud. I'd write it by using Nextcloud instead of Google Drive or something like that. Yeah, because you're right. Yeah, it just doesn't. By the way, I've already upgraded my OwnCloud instance or side graded. What's the word if you're switching projects that are drop-in compatible? Migrated?
Migrated, yeah.
Call it upgraded.
Upgrading, yeah. So I've already done that over on my main server, and yeah, it actually worked fairly smoothly. And I was surprised that you guys already have an Android Nextcloud client released. I was kind of surprised by that because I knew this was a little bit ahead, and so I figured this would probably lag by a few months and whatnot. And I was surprised.
Don't get me wrong, but this is what Frank mentioned earlier. Now people just jumped in it. They were like, oh, so, now we are in control. Awesome. Let's do this. Bang. And done.
I'll put it this way. I mean, I think one of the things that the four of us in the show, there are certain companies we're always fans of, and it's not just because of the software, but it's also because of the people behind them.
Yeah.
So you've definitely got 100% bad voltage support here, and certainly from my perspective, I can see great things for you guys in the future. I mean, the fact that opportunity is knocking on your door and you had to apologize to our listeners for being slow replying to some emails is a good sign. So, but yeah, thanks for coming on the show, guys. It was really great to hear it from the horse's mouth, and we wish you nothing but the best of the future. It's going to be awesome.
Pleasure. Thanks.
Guys.
Many years back, our own intrepid Jonathan Bacon left the company known as Canonical to join a company known as XPRIZE, a company that had done really cool things dealing with outer space and such. And they started a project, a new XPRIZE. That's not a contest, but a new XPRIZE project for learning. The XPRIZE Learning Project, where people would create open source learning software and solutions, and they would better the world with those learning solutions. Now, since that time, our own Jonathan Bacon has moved on to other pastures. But I haven't heard a lot from XPRIZE on this particular project, and I thought it was a very cool one. And so I've thought, let's ask Jono, because Jono probably is still keeping tabs on it, at least, because, he was working on it. So I would love to know, what happened with this? Because I went to their site and I kind of poked around a little bit, and it looked like a few months back they had this post about how they really had a great moment in this learning project for open source learning, but I couldn't find any information on what it was or what's been accomplished or who's been involved or anything. What's going on with that thing?
I think it's just ongoing, because the thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is that X prizes are really long. Like, they're 5 years. Like, this prize doesn't wrap up until 2019.
I guess that's a good point. So, this show may feel like it's been going for 30 years, but it's really only been around for about 2, right? So that's good point you just brought up.
The team registration opened in September 2014, and so it's we're partway through it. What's cool though is there's a guy called Matt Keller who is in charge of the Global Learning X Prize at the X Prize Foundation, and he is one of the neatest people I've ever met. He used to work on One Laptop Per Child. He worked for the UN.
Yeah,
and he's out in Tanzania, I think, now. He's living out there with his family, coordinating the testing, because I think what's happened, I think the field testing begins sometime in 2000. I think it's next year sometime.
I think so.
And that's the biggest bit. Like, one of the things that everybody used to ramble on about when I was at X Prize was, you always talk about the competition ending and then, this grand challenge being solved. But one of the most valuable bits of it is the testing. Like, this is going to be, these solutions are going to be tested with thousands and thousands of kids all over Africa. And it's going to be, so Matt's been coordinating the logistics around that. Like, how do you ship these tablets out and make sure some don't go missing? And how do you update them with software? And how do you get results back from those updates? It's a massive logistical challenge in how they're doing it. So Matt and this other guy called Ed, who also works at X Prize, is another phenomenal human being.
Way to go, Ed. Ed, you are the best. Ed is the greatest.
So Ed McNerney, more specifically.
Oh man, you really ruined it by bringing the last name into it. It was so
Ed does have a second
cool
name. So I think what's happening now, if I'm right, is they're basically gearing up to that testing bit.
So it's not died. It's still ongoing. It's just in that
all the
quiet
teams are
phase.
finalized, right? I think there's 135 teams made the cut and did all the right things to do that. So I think they're on to the deciding the tablet stage. I think that closes in August if you look at that timeline.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's it. Yeah. And I think one of the things I think is the case here is, there's a lot of buzz at the beginning of an X Prize, right?
Yeah.
So like it's announced, and if there's one thing the X Prize Foundation does very well is publicity. Like X Prize has got tons of like really well-known people on the boards who, Peter Diamandis is the most well-connected person I've ever met. He's phenomenal, in terms of building relationships between different people. And so you have this massive amount of buzz, and then it quietens down for like 3 years while the teams just privately work on their projects. And unlike open source, where everything's out in the open, of course, these teams are very, very private because they're building things themselves. There are some exceptions, like Michael Hall, friend of the show. He's working on an X Prize project for the Global Learning X Prize that's completely open source called Financia. So it's been interesting, like watching his updates on the X Prize forum, but the rest of the teams, they're all silent. So, it's kind of it's weird for an X Prize because you get this radio silence that happens for 2 or 3 years. And then, of course, when it gets to the testing bit, hopefully there'll be more visible stuff happening. So.
And it's kind of interesting, though. So so people are making these learning-based projects, and they're all going to be open source, is my understanding, right?
No, absolutely not.
The winner
is.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's the thing I was cranky about like 2 years ago when they announced this. Okay, right. Now it's all coming back to me. I was like, there's something I don't like about this, but it all sounds amazing to me right now. Now I remember what that is. Okay, so that's why they're in radio science. Now I'm up to date, because that's why I was wondering. I'm like, if there's all these open source projects going on, where in the shit are all the updates? Like, I'm not hearing anything from anybody. But you're right. I guess that does make sense. If some of them are planning to stay proprietary, and if they don't win, then they can turn it into a proprietary, closed source, super evil thing if they want to.
What was interesting to me was when I was at X Prize, one of the things, I was excited about that prize particularly because it was the first open source X Prize, and my theory was, why did we get people in the community, like tons of people, like 190 odd teams signed up? Why don't we get all of these? Why don't we get these teams collaborating around common pieces such as voice recognition or storytelling engines and whatever else? And so I spent a lot of time when I was there working with the community, encouraging people to collaborate around these common components. And what was interesting to me is there was relatively little interest. There was a lot of people who said, we should do that, it'd be brilliant. But in terms of people actually signing up to do it, there was relatively little interest. And one of the things I learned from that was, in a very competitive environment, such as an incentive prize competition, it's difficult to get people to collaborate because the culture of that prize is competitive, because people are competing for $15 million, right? So I was a little disappointed. A little bit of my bubble burst when I was like, oh, maybe people won't, Yeah. And that's nothing to do with X Prize. That's just the way incentive comes.
Do you know if there's any other of the 135 teams besides Hall that are open source? Or is it 134 against 1, basically?
I want Michael to win now.
I think there is 4 or 5 teams.
Okay. So
there is because there is a GitHub repo. Let me have a look.
So statistically, like 1, 2, or 3% of the teams.
It's tiny proportion. Like there's the Linguaculturalists.
That's kind of surprising.
There's a Common Audio project. There's Slide Speech, which is from Auckland. Dev for Ed, and then Nomad. Oh, and it looks like Financia is not in there anymore. I wonder what's going on there. Oh no, that is. I think the Linguaculturists are Michael. Yeah, it's Michael Hall's project.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Which is really active. So you can go and get Michael's code right now, and you can contribute to it and whatever else. So, but I'm not going to talk too much of that because I don't want to conflict of interest kind of thing.
Conflict of interest, nothing.
The prize.
Yeah, Jono, you be quiet for a second. Everybody, go check out Michael Hall's. What's it called, Jono? What's
any of the open source ones? Really, it would be nice if one of the open source ones won.
Yeah, go and check them all out.
You're listening to me, Peter Diamandis. The cool ones are the open source ones. Just saying. That's the popular word on the street.
Yeah, I mean, you could go to raisingfinancia.com, which is A, Michael Hall's project, and B, impossible to actually type in correctly. So thank you, Michael, for picking a illegible word like financia.
You've said it several times now, and I can't imagine in my head how it's spelled. I have no idea.
Phoenicia.
Dude, stop. I'm not going to remember this. I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to play this back to learn how to spell it. I'm never going to go to this website unless Michael sends me a link. Literally, that's the only option for me. But I still want him to win.
Michael Hall will follow up. Right. So, yeah, I wish all people who are submitting the very best of luck.
I, on the other hand, wish all of the 2 to 3% of the open source projects the best of luck at destroying the other ones.
Yeah. So, it'd be cool to see. I'm excited to see like how because the thing that's neat about an X Prize is it's got a very specific set of criteria to win, right?
Right.
And I'm curious to see. This is a really hard thing to solve, and I'm curious to see how well these projects do in actually teaching kids reading, writing, and literature.
It's kind of great. Yeah, I'm pretty pumped about it. So I'm excited. I'm hoping that sometime soon we actually get to start seeing stuff happening. I want to see the results of those field tests. I also would like to see, you know how when they do like the Space X Prize type stuff, like part of you is watching like trial videos to see the glory of liftoff and like to see things work really well. But you're also kind of hoping that one of the rockets that's autonomous explodes. Like you're kind of, you kind of want to see that. Like part of me really wants to see at least one of these projects fail so spectacular that they accidentally made children stupider just by existing. But like, I hate to make children stupid and all, but like, I kind of want one of them to fail in some spectacular way like that. I know that's wrong of me to wish that, but I want most of them to do a really great job.
And for the second time, a reminder that the opinion of Lunduke does not represent the opinion of Bad Voltage.
This is when Bryan Lunduke sets up the Lunduke Foundation, which is $10 million competition to make the world stupider. This is the 4chan prize.
You know what? Global Learning Lunduke Prize, where the winner gets like a Hot Pocket and a Pixel C.
I bet you. No. Hot sausage and pancake on a stick to all the entrants. Everyone eats sausage on a stick in the Lunduke Prize.
We should set up let's have an incentive competition.
You know, I bet we could get a company to sponsor it.
It's got to be Jimmy Dean, right? I mean,
all right. I'll send a note over to Jimmy Dean, and we'll see what we can get rolling.
So there I have it.
There we have it. That's a good declaration, my friend. There we have it. I like it because we don't have to tell people that we did a good show or a bad show or how we feel about the show at all. Just that we have it. Fantastic.
I don't think we should commit.
I don't think so either.
That was an all right show.
No. Back off of that. It was a show. We did the show. It's done now. Yeah.
It was definitely a show.
Yeah, completed.
And it was ginger free as well, which was nice.
Oh, that was actually kind of pleasant.
So that means there's no risk of anyone's souls being sucked out of the out by their headphones.
Shit happens, my friend.
He did say that while in America it's quite a different experience, that usually you kind of get, as a British person coming over to the United States, to have that smug, high moral ground. And he said basically everyone's just asking, what's wrong with your country? Which is usually what we get when we go to the other side of the pond. So it's been an interesting reversal over there, I hear.
Oh, that does feel kind of good.
I love it when he's in America, because just watching him navigate American culture is like watching a blind cow in a china shop who's been electrocuted with those sticks. Like, it's just amazing watching him just bumble through American culture, just knocking into stuff.
It's like what could he possibly do? It's not that much different. Like you go over to Britain, you go to like a Sainsbury's. You come over to the United States, you got a friggin' Fred Meyer. Like they're the same kind of stores, the same kind of stuff. The only difference is you got like minced pies over there on the shelf, and those are kind of weird. But otherwise, it's the same deal.
I would agree, and you'd think that, and then you go into a bar with him, and you say, "What would you like to drink?" And he says, "I'll have a Blue Moon," because he quite likes Blue Moon.
Sure.
And then they deliver the Blue Moon with a piece of orange floating in it.
He does get very
it's a
upset.
Blue Moon.
Then you're treated to a 2-minute rant about no fruit in beer and how this is just an absolute... for a long time, he said that America's only made 2 contributions to society. One is IHOP and 2 is turning right and a red. So, that's the only thing that America's ever contributed to society.
Interesting.
Stuart does make a good point. IHOP is kind of amazing. I do love IHOP. He's not wrong about that.
I vehemently disagree. What do you?
All right, look. Here's the thing, Jeremy. Before you pull
have you
out
ever eaten one of those nanner puss things?
than-
That sounds terrifying.
Well, you don't have to eat every crazy thing that they come up with at IHOP, but for a place that you consistently know, I'm going to get some okay eggs and some okay cakes, that's a good place to go. Not too expensive, reasonable, consistent. It's like McDonald's, but for breakfast food and much better than McDonald's. Like it's consistent wherever you go.
I went to IHOP a few weeks ago, took Jack out there, right? And I went and had dinner with Jack, and the entire check was less than $10.
Right? Right?
Like,
did you go on the kids eat free night?
Wow. No.
Oh, see, then was it like Thursday night? Your kids eat free on top of it, and they have like every now and then they'll have like an all-you-can-eat thing, like all-you-can-eat pancakes or all-you-can-eat popcorn shrimp or something. Man, you can get disgustingly full off of IHOP food and be out of there for like pennies. It is amazing.
Do you ever take Jack to Jack in the Box? Does he get a kick out of that?
I've never taken him to Jack in the Box, actually.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Go to Jack in the Box. Take your son out, man.
I'm sorry.
Jesus Christ.
All right, yeah. I know. That was...
Wow.
Yeah, it's a poor decision, right? Poor life choice.
Well, it's just a big parenting fail, dude, man. Like, I see you posting pictures of you singing songs to or videos of singing songs to your kid in the bathroom, right? You do some kick-ass dad stuff, and you still haven't taken your son to his friggin' namesake restaurant. Clearly, he was named after Jack in the Box, obviously. So take him there. Yeah. Show him where his lineage comes from, man.
Yeah, he was very nearly called Taco Bacon. So
it's funny. My original name was Carl's Jr. Lunduke, so I get it.
Yeah, Jeremy was going to be called Chick Garcia.
Oh, dude. Do we have like a minute and a half to finish this show up? So we do. I'm not even going to wait for you to answer. So down the street from me here, I'm just outside of Portland, and the first Chick-fil-A in the kind of broader this little area I'm at opened up. Right, a Chick-fil-A opened up. I'm not really a Chick-fil-A guy because I don't like Chick-fil-A, but they opened up. And the line of cars going to Chick-fil-A was insanity. It was
crazy,
it was like
right?
You'd be expecting like a new Star Wars movie opening up or something like that. It was such an amazing line, and it hasn't ended. It's been months now, and the line is going out past the parking lot, down the road a ways. The parking lot's full. Every business nearby has big signs up that say, if you're going to Chick-fil-A, don't park in our goddamn parking lot, you Chick-fil-A eating assholes. Like, it's just everywhere. Who are these people? None of my neighbors have gone to the Chick-fil-A, because I ask them, have you seen that? They're like, yeah, that's bonkers. Have you gone? No. Why would I go to Chick-fil-A? So who is going to Chick-fil-A?
So I was going to say, Chick-fil-A is actually pretty good. They make a nice.
It's actually really good.
They make a nice chicken sandwich.
They hate gay people, so I don't go. But it's
they changed that.
I don't agree with their policies, but they make a good chicken sandwich.
I'll tell you. So they opened a Chick-fil-A down the street from us, right? And I was really excited about it. And then the whole gay hating thing kicked off. And I was under the impression that this was a big kind of misunderstanding. And what had happened is that they'd sponsored something that happened to have an anti-gay jet, something like that. And Eric and I were in the drive-through line in traffic going through Chick-fil-A. Eric is saying, you know what? I actually think that like they had like a pretty firmly anti-gay stance. It wasn't a misrepresentation.
No.
So I'm like looking it up on my phone before we get to the thing where you order, and they're like, the CEO was anti-gay, blah 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 blah. So
he was a dick cheese.
No, wait, not gonna do that. But apparently, I remember reading sometime that some gay rights person reached out to the CEO and they basically pretty much reversed their stance. Like, apparently that whole thing is way better than it used to be, because I now eat at Chick-fil-A when I read that. So I don't know whether that's... So I was like, delicious chicken sandwich versus civil rights.
No, I get it. A delicious burger or something overweighs civil rights any day, but a chicken sandwich, I'm not willing to compromise my morals for just chicken. It's got to be something amazing. Like
the weird part about that, we just got our first Popeyes, and the line was over an hour and a half long for weeks to get Popeyes.
I mean,
Popeyes.
Yeah, I mean, I like Popeyes. Don't get me wrong. I like a good Popeyes.
It's like if you put Chick-fil-A in the dumpster, it's basically Popeyes.
Dude. Not cool, dude. Dude, you know what? We should have a segment on this. Because I could go for
episode 71, now surely sponsored by Popeyes, I assume.
I assume as much because Popeyes is friggin' delicious. And Chick-fil-A can suck my big old balls.
You know what, though? Chick-fil-A is delicious in every location. Popeyes varies.
Yeah, it does.
Popeyes at Las Vegas Airport, it was not good.
You're not wrong. A good Popeyes is killer. A bad Popeyes is a bad day.
Yeah.
I've still never been to the ones around here. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, they just opened a Dunkin' Donuts up in Walnut Creek, and there was a ridiculous line. It's like, really? For Dunkin' Donuts? Apparently it's the first one out in this side of the country or something. I don't know.
This is my favorite segment of this show, by the way.
This is
This sounds like a future segment, yeah.
Jeremy has not used the word macro in this segment, which is encouraging.
we should end this nondescript podcast episode right here.
Let's do it. Bye.
What the fuck does that even mean? That sounds horrible, but I don't understand it. Okay, John, I'll be really quiet. Jeremy's going to intro this.
God, I don't
know
if I can now.
1, 2. Yeah. 1, 2. All right. We could do this.
I got this.
What? All right. Okay.